I think before we jump into that, we were talking a little bit right before we went live about Fable's back.
Bro, yeah, yeah.
Breaking news.
Well, we did the cast for Fable like the day it came out,
And
or
then
it was not
later
like
that
the day
evening,
or
it was
something. Yeah, exactly. And we joked
Yeah.
in chat like it was because we were talking about it and hyping it up that it was pulled, but it is
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
I
So
think
for folks not paying attention, Fable is a Mythos class model from Anthropic. It was released a couple weeks ago, and then within a few hours, basically, it was pulled by Access because of the government. The US government didn't want it exporting. It came back up, I think, sometime yesterday afternoon, evening, my time, but it's different now. And I think it's good to just kind of highlight how stuff kind of changed and the narrative is still, it's the end of the internet. It's going to change everything. And like, one, still not true. It's good. It's better. It's better than Opus 4.8 and most stuff. It gets way chattier and asks a lot more questions that I'm like comfortable with sometimes, though, because I'm like, I just want you to do this thing. I want you to
no
make
code skill.
assumptions. Yeah. But it's so when I build
Yeah.
with AI, a lot of times I'll either give it a very structured idea, like more of a product document. And sometimes I'm just kind of, let's just see what happens. And Opus doesn't like to do that. It likes to ask a bunch of questions, or sorry, Fable doesn't like to do that. Whereas Opus will just kind of build a bunch of shit and be like, here's some assumptions I made. I'm like, okay, let's try it.
It's interesting. Random thought is I wonder if they built in this precautionary thing where, like, one of the things with LLMs, it's really hard to gauge intention. One of the elements of the Fable release was if your intent was to do anything with security or biology, it was gate you, right?
Yeah.
Maybe as a precautionary measure, they wanted to ask a lot of questions to make sure they got your intent right, so they knew when to gate you and when not to gate you.
And that's a good point, right? So the new version of the release has changed a little bit, and there's been a few changes. The ones that kind of I didn't actually prep to talk about this, so like probably should have. From the top of my mind, from reading the announcement, it's out there. You can Google it. It's on Anthropic's website. But you can only use Fable for 50% of your account, your Claude coding account.
Weekly usage or something.
Yeah. As far as I know, there's no restrictions on API. I haven't hit any, so I think you just burn as much money as you want. So that's different. It used to just be that it was a limited preview for a couple weeks or something. The classifier is very different now, so it's much more conservative, which means that what you're asking it to do, it'll try to figure out your intent and classify it. And if you hit the things that they've decided that model should do, it'll bump you down to 4.8 to Opus. And so a lot of folks have made the observation that you're paying for this higher end model, but it's going to probably dump you down to the lower model to do the work. So you're still paying for that, though. It seems like it's not really clear to me like how that actually happens. If I'm in the, what is it? It's 10 by $50, I think, is the Fable, and I think Opus is, I think it's like 10 by 28 or 20 by 30. I don't know. Quote me on the numbers. But my understanding then is that all the tokens that you burn with Opus trying to figure out if it should do something, that the tokenizer, the classifiers, you're paying for that at the more premium price. Maybe not, but that's what it looks like to me, and that sucks.
How interesting.
Yeah, and it doesn't code at all now, apparently. It's only using Opus 4.8 for coding. So I guess theoretically, if you're using it for coding, it's doing a plan, and that's Fable, and then you get dumped to Opus for any kind of coding tasks. It's not clear to me that the code reviews that it's doing or the sizing of what to do next is either Fable or Opus. I've used both for like, here's a rant. I'm like, I know you're not supposed to do coding or whatever, but I'm like, I want this feature. Let's plan it out. And I don't know if that's Opus or Fable. It seems like it's Fable because it's asking me a lot more questions. But it's not clear to me that if it's like reasoning and doing all this stuff on the back end and then any kind of code analysis is going through Opus.
Oh, interesting.
And this is just like continuation of my rant on the company that's just begging for fucking transparency is like the most opaque fucking thing on the planet. And it's really pissing me off that people are like falling for this again. There's some other stuff in there too. I think that was like the highlights for me. It was just like they've kind of neutered it more and trying to make you think that it's better still. Like, the
Yeah,
thing that was
yeah.
supposed to be way better, and, like, they have a graph of, like, how they did the tokenizer changes, and I'm like, "We clearly made this more conservative and less good."
For probably a few different reasons, right? I think one of the key takeaways from the whole ordeal was a sort of, I don't know whether you want to call it a power struggle or some uncertain sort of delegation of capability, right? So even OpenAI was thrown
Yeah.
into the mix with their next model release, having to run it by the government to make sure that it was okay to release, right?
Yeah.
That was something that was more eye opening for me in that whole ordeal.
Yeah, and the
We'll see
I
where it
guess it
goes.
was the claims of jailbreaking and for jailbreaking. When you jailbreak something, you're bypassing logical safeguards for what something can do, and in AI's context, this would be like making biological weapons or something. It's not supposed to do
Mm.
that. It probably knows how. It will refuse to do that. A jailbreak would be getting the model to presumably do it.
Removing the guardrails. Yeah.
But they were really cagey on what that even was. Like, I was reading a lot of stuff that was second or third hand, and I don't honestly know how real this stuff is. Like, the government absolutely did put a prohibition on it. That's real. But it's not clear to me if the capabilities are so far beyond. We keep hearing about how Mythos is so far. I don't have access. I'll just state that for the record. It's so far beyond anything. I'm like, I
I
don't
do
believe
not
it.
either.
And people that I've talked to that have access to it, they're like, yeah, it's really good, but it's like it's not internet ending all code. So I don't know how much of this is like policymakers not knowing what the fuck they're doing and freaking out that this is like world
Some of it,
ending.
sure.
Yeah, or how much of it's actually real. I think not giving the claims are that it's world ending, it's going to hack all the code and all this stuff, and so not giving like the US government access to that is fucking crazy if that's
Mhm.
true, right? Like, we want the best technology. It'd be like inventing some kind of a new tank and then selling it to everybody other than the government first, right? It's like you don't do that. So I don't know how much of it's that either. I just know that it's very untransparent and very opaque, and it's getting more and more so, and now everybody's begging for regulation. Sam Altman had an article in the FT about wanting to have a US-led AI safety fucking thing, and I'm not against AI safety. I am against any of these people being in the room to decide how AI should
Yeah,
or should
you need
not function.
the
Yeah.
independent board of for
Yeah,
the
and sure, you need expertise in how AI works, but, like, the fundamental questions are, like, if you're allowing AI to make decisions or take actions on your behalf, who's responsible? It's the person, spoiler
Mm.
alert, and then to what extent do companies have liability on? And what they're trying to do is vie for liability protections, like common carrier protections that we have for web hosts. I don't know if that's necessarily applicable for this. Like, it's a little different, right? They're actually manufacturing stuff. I think one of the best arguments I've heard on this is like they've used the entirety of human knowledge to train their models, and now they want to sell the output back to us. I think I'll just let that one sit there and we can move on.
Yeah, it's a great place to end it. Yes.
Yeah.
You can find
All
us
right.
at
So
create.com.
2026
Just
predictions.
like the word
Great
create, but with
segue.
3 instead of the C. As always, we encourage you to listen, watch, do. We'll see you next time